But speaking of back to the subject, LeBron James, he was on the golf course. He was on some podcast or show, and he talked about Memphis and how Memphis is not his cup of tea place to be in. And look, is he the only one who's actually said this? No. Kevin Durant has said this. Derek White has said this. Marcus Smart. Did you see the video, champ, that I sent you? That Legend of Winning did, in which Marcus Smart talked about the ugliest people are in Memphis.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but damn, that's messed up.
No, I mean, he said it. I'm not fabricating. Marcus Smart, who used to, I think he played for the Memphis Grizzlies at one point. He actually said it as well. And a lot of people on the media, especially one Stephen A. Smith, had an issue to what LeBron James had to say, to which Matt Barnes even had to check Stephen A. Smith, and they've been going back and forth. But my thing is, Stephen A., you said that last year when you had the Morris twins. You said that about Memphis yourself. And look, a lot of basketball players have said that Memphis is not their ideal place to go to or visit. It's not their cup of tea. And I think it's best for the organization for them to move to Nashville. Now, again, I want to be very careful because shout out to Maria, who is a native of Memphis, covers basketball. If you're looking for women's basketball and everything with Memphis, follow Maria. Although at times she can be crazy with her sports opinions here and there, but that's a story for another day. I'm petty. I'm petty. I'm that way with men and women, so don't make it seem like I be any different. I call it the same. I keep it a buck. I mean, thank God for Jim Cornette because he gives me the license to say however I want. But for people to act as if LeBron James, what he said about Memphis being anti-black, that's bullshit. LeBron has done a lot of great things for the black community, especially for Akron, the I Heart Promise School, everything else, helping out young black kids, encouraging them in school, basketball, and everything else. LeBron James is worth $1 billion. Can't he have a preference to decide where he wants to go? Champ, let me ask you something. Have you ever been to Memphis?
No, I haven't been to Memphis, but it's just I haven't been to Memphis, but everybody who has been there has told me, yeah, it's kind of gritty. You know, there's not a lot of great hotels as far as 5-star hotels are
But
concerned
great,
outside
but
of
the
the West.
culture. But
But
as you mentioned, champ, the culture, because Jerry the King Lawler, you think of Memphis for the blues, the jazz, and everything else. Nevertheless, it's not the type of place where a lot of these players want to be.
it's a lot of small
LeBron just
market. It's a typical small market.
that and New Orleans. Although New Orleans, though, if you go to Bourbon Street and if you see them wags, now
Well,
that's a
let me
story
just be
for
real. New Orleans is a whole nother element because the thing is, that's a big city that they call it a small market, but it really isn't.
it's really
New
not
Orleans is
when you
gonna
go to Bourbon Street, when you go to certain areas in New Orleans, it's more than it's given credit for. A- a- But Memphis, look, there are a lot of good things in Memphis, especially with the food. Listen, no good food in the South. That is a fact. If you go to the South, New Orleans, Texas, Georgia, any place in the South, there's some good ass food. But I think people blew it way out of proportion, especially with Stephen A. Smith, because you're making it more of a narrative than it really has to be. And then with Kendrick Perkins, only thing I disagree with Legend of Winning, he said he was disappointed with Kendrick Perkins. And I'm like, Legend, you a smart brother. You are brilliant when it comes to basketball and sports stuff. Why would you be disappointed in Kendrick Perkins? I've told you before, champ, Kendrick Perkins is the type of dude, if he's cooking breakfast, lunch, dinner, I'm throwing that shit in the trash because I know it's going to be burnt. I wouldn't even feed it to my dog. Therefore, I would not be surprised with what Kendrick Perkins does. But Stephen A. Smith, I must admit, man, with what you said about LeBron James, Stephen A., you getting on LeBron James, what he said about Memphis, you said the exact thing about Memphis with the community. And lately, you've been attacking a lot of people in the black community. Jamel Hill, Jasmine Crockett, Matter of fact, you was on Sage Seal's podcast, and you even admitted that you regretted voting for Kamala Harris. I don't know why, but and then with Matt Barnes, and then you got Steven Jackson into the mix because obviously with their podcast, All the Smoke, Matt Barnes even told you he from Memphis himself too. I just don't understand, but it piggybacks everything we've said, Chap, about Michelle Obama. ESPN is like reality TV. They're not interested. Are they really interested in what's going on in Memphis? Because it seems to me they're not. They're more interested in headlines, creating narratives, giving the audience something to talk about. Because Memphis, should they move to Nashville, Champ? Yes, they should, because there's a lot more things in Nashville. Because the hockey team, the football team, the Tennessee Titans, they have they're about to have a new stadium soon. They already have the new uniforms. Nashville is just a more attractive market than Memphis. But LeBron James, what he said about Memphis, it's not the first, nor will be the last time any basketball player has said about Memphis. Again, Kevin Durant has said it. Derek White has said it.
Stephen A.
Draymond Green
has said it.
Huh? Draymond Green.
Smith has said it, because remember, he talked about when the Morris team, he talked about
safety,
the crime,
the security,
the crime. So what was so?
And if you look at it, Memphis, isn't it number one when it comes to the crime between 2025, 2026 of all cities? There's Little Rock, Arkansas, there's Mississippi. Memphis is up there. So, given the crime and also the fact that it's not an attractive market, a place for people to be in, and for you, Stephen A. Smith, to attack LeBron, considering that you said it yourself, why are you tripping? And is it because of the beef y'all have with each other? Because obviously the situation that happened last year? So it seems to me Stephen A. Smith can't stop. He just can't stop. He just can't stop. Just about a few weeks ago, I commended you for getting after Jason Whitlock's fat ass, and now you continuously do a 180 or 360. Michelle, again, champ, Michelle Obama, for all people, to say that ESPN is like reality TV. I mean, it is. I mean, and even Dan Orlowski, I know I'm digressing. Did you see what Dan Orlowski, or heard what he said about Lamar Jackson not attending off-season workouts? When Lamar Jackson, there's video of him actually at the workouts.
ESPN, fire all those assholes and give me a sports PSP a job. Give us a job, because these dudes don't know what the hell they do. It's like, to your point, it's just like they try to create a lot of narratives. It's like, bro, we're in journalism. I understand. Look, the key in sports, in my humble opinion, pick a narrative when a narrative is there. If a narrative is there, cool. If it's not, report on sports. Your job is not to create a story. This is not All My Children soap operas. This is not General Hospital.
Love and hip hop.
It's not none of that. Narratives are good when it comes to sports, because I've said it before and I said it again. We're not in the sports business. We're in the story business. Stories sell. But when you are putting out misinformation after misinformation after misinformation, it gets disgusting after a while. That's number one. Number two, Stephen A., stop with this beef with LeBron, because you were the first person to point out crime in Memphis. Not anybody else. It was you. You pointed out crime in Memphis, and you said that on live television. Now, I will give you credit. You gave the fans their credit, and they're just due. They have great fans. They have a great culture there. But the crime, the security, and the things like that, and you were the first one to point it out. It wasn't the Morris twins. It wasn't Kendrick Perkins. It wasn't anybody else but you. So you pointed out the crime. Nobody else. Number two, people are going to have a preference to where they would like to play. We saw Sophie Cunningham. She stated that, she in the WNBA, when they was expanded, she stated that they wanted to put an expansion team in Miami rather than Detroit. Although the Detroit Shock, they have a history in the WNBA. There's a lot of players that want to choose the glamour cities. When you go to another city, you're on a business trip. You're doing it more than just to play basketball. I don't think a lot of people realize that. And these NBA players, especially guys of the caliber of LeBron, they want to rub elbows with some of the elite. Like it or not, they're trying to rub elbows with some of the elite. Not just your musicians, not just your local celebrities, not just your rappers. They're trying to rub elbows so they can get richer. So for him to say Nashville, guess where those guys are at? In Nashville. All the partnerships, Nashville. Football team, hockey team, Nashville. I want you to look up while we're on the air. Look up the Westin Hotel in Nashville, right across the street from the Tennessee Titans Stadium. And look how beautiful that hotel is. And if you see that hotel, it has a pool on top of the building looking right across at the stadium. So guess what? People are going to want accommodations. People are going to want, the glamour city. People are going to want to be in glamorous places where not only they can feel safe, but their families can feel safe. So, yeah, I don't blame LeBron for saying that. I think we get to the point where every time somebody says something, we try to reach in order to make it a narrative that it wasn't. Because to your point, the most dangerous cities in America, Memphis is at the top.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now, champ. I'm reading it on realestateusnews.com. Memphis is number 1. Second is Oakland. Third is
Yeah.
St. Louis. Fourth is Baltimore. Fifth, Detroit. Sixth is Alexandria, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Seventh, Cleveland. Eighth, New Orleans. Ninth, Monroe, Louisiana. And 10th is Pueblo, Colorado. Anniston, Alabama is 11th. Little Rock, Arkansas is like 12th. And Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, 13th.
And ironically, Oakland is number 2, and they don't have a damn team anymore in any sport.
They used to have the Raiders. That's gone. They used to have it with the Golden State Warriors. That's gone.
The Oakland A's, they're gone. Crime went up in that city, and guess what? Boom. The sports. Yeah, so they're not. Guess what? It's not by accident that Oakland doesn't, as far as the fans go, they are some of the best fans that you ever want to have. Some of the best. They sold out Oakland Raiders Stadium every single week, and the team was going 2-13 every single damn year. But it's not about the fans; it's about accommodations. It's about the safety of the players, how safe they feel, how safe the NFL and the NBA owners feel in that environment. Him saying he wants to move the team out of the stadium, out of Memphis, that's not an indictment on the fans. It's an indictment on the accommodation. It's an indictment on the attractions. It's an indictment on some of the things that they have to go to in order to get there. And Memphis is not necessarily a glamour town. If he said move it out of Miami, I'd say there's something wrong with you, man. But he said move it out of Memphis. It's a very, very small market. It's a very small market. That's just what that is. He's a very, very small market, not necessarily a glamorous market. And
by the way, Stephen, I'm sorry to cut you off, Chad. By the way, Stephen A. Smith, if there's one person who can understand that, it's you. After all, you brag about you going to Miami and LA. You've bragged about your dream NBA finals is in South Beach and La La Land.
Yes. You want to go there because
so why are you complaining if you're Stephen A. Smith?
And again, like I said, it's no indictment on the fans of Memphis or the people of Memphis. But guess what? If you had to choose between Memphis or another city in Tennessee, guess what? You're more than likely going to pick Nashville or another city because of the attractions that are there. You're more than likely going to do that. I mean, one of the real reasons why they had to trade in order to get a lot of guys to Cleveland, uh, LeBron's second time around, is because guess what? It's not a glamorous city. The reason why a lot of players are not going to Milwaukee in order to play with Giannis, not because he's not a good player, it's because
Nobody wants to be in Milwaukee.
nobody wants to be in damn Milwaukee. It's just like, you're a great player, but I don't want to go here. Yeah.
They want to live the life.
They want to live the life. You want to be in a glam town. You want to have a nightlife, especially considering how young a lot of these guys is. It's not like the old NBA where a lot of these guys are veterans and their family. A lot of these guys are very, very young. They want to go out on the town. They want
the
to
millennials, the Gen Zs.
Yeah, they want to get their Ric Flair on.
That's
So
just
yeah,
it.
they
But
want to
that's
get their
just
Ric Flair
it.
on.
Lord, if you bring up helicopter one more time,
I didn't even say that, but I see where
no,
you're going.
no, because anytime when you think of Ric Flair, you bring. I always think of helicopter.
That plane ride from here.
But the thing is, though, I think this wasn't really a subject until LeBron said it, because, like I said, other players have said it about Memphis, but you didn't pay enough attention. But because it's LeBron James, then all of a sudden you started to pay attention to it. And for those who say LeBron James is anti-black because of what he said about Memphis, stop. That's ridiculous. He is a billionaire. People with that amount of money shouldn't they be entitled to their own personal preferences? Where they want to go, where they want to be on vacation, where they want to travel, where they want to eat. LeBron James is qualified to do that. Former or current, he's one of 4 people, former or current athlete, to be a billionaire. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Tiger Woods, and LeBron James. He is entitled to his own preference. He doesn't want to be in Memphis. Memphis is not a place that people want to be in. Marcus Smart even said the ugliest people are in Memphis.
Again, and like I said, that was way harsher than what LeBron said. Like I stated,
That's worse.
I really feel like ESPN is not out for sports anymore. They're out for a damn narrative. And look, if I'm the executives in ESPN, I'm pulling Stephen A to the side and saying, my man, you got to stop with this LeBron James bullshit. And I hate to say it like that, but it gets to a point where, look, everything doesn't have to be a personal vendetta. You're not here to attack LeBron James. You are here to cover the damn sport. You're not here to be engaged in a Tupac and Biggie-esque war with damn LeBron James. You have to cover this guy. And if you're going blow for blow with a player like LeBron James and of his caliber, then guess what? What is your relationship going to be like with the future of the NBA? How are you going to be able to walk into locker rooms and get insider information? How are you going to be the journalist that we hired you to be? One thing about great journalists, they're able to get insider information. They're able to go out there and hit the road and hear about rumors. How is anybody going to feel safe talking to you and you're attacking players all the damn time in the media about shit that ain't got nothing to do with basketball or the sport itself? Every time we look around, you are attacking a player about something outside of the damn sport. What is your problem?
The problem is the bigger his ego. Remember what he said about Matt Barnes, calling Matt Barnes a pothead?
Again, look, pot is legal for a reason in, I think, 25 different states. So guess what?
What's the big deal?
What's the big deal about it? So you're talking about somebody, and the thing is, you call Bronny a Nepo baby in so many words. But you bring your daughter on your show every single day, and you have brought her to ESPN. Is that not nepotism? You have brought up crime in Memphis. Is that not the same thing that LeBron and everybody has been talking about? You're speaking out of both sides of your neck, and eventually ESPN has to wise up and understand that guess what? You're talking out of both sides of your face. You can't sit around here and talk about crime in Memphis, but when LeBron James said, I don't want to be in Memphis, and they need to move the team to Nashville, now all of a sudden you want to call it an indictment against black people.
He's accused. I know what Stephen A is controlling the narrative, like he always accuses LeBron of controlling the narrative. And the thing is, Stephen A, you can't have it both ways. And the thing is, he was very condescending with Matt Barnes, saying, "You're an influencer. I'm a journalist. I've covered the sport. Just because you're a journalist and you've covered it that long doesn't necessarily mean you do that great of a job. Just
Exactly.
because you
And I
cover
played
it,
it.
you don't know everything. You don't always know everything."
And who do you think whose show they would rather watch? Would you rather watch All the Smoke or would you rather watch First Take? I would like to think a lot of people would rather pick All the Smoke. And unlike the whole beef between you and Jason Whitlock is in the thing, which is the thing right about now, you can't say that your ratings outdo All the Smoke. You can't talk about how your ratings because everybody who I know loves All the Smoke. And at this point, you've lost a lot of the audience that you once had. Matt Barnes brought up a good point. At one point, you were Allen Iverson's guy in the media. He
Yes,
was to Allen Iverson and black athletes what Ahmad Rashad was
to Michael
to
Jordan
Michael Jordan. Yes,
or
yes,
to
indeed.
Jim Ross with
Stone
Stone
Cold
Cold
Steve
Steve
Austin,
Austin.
which my main man PSP hooked me up. Check the back of me right about there, behind the wide back. You know what I'm saying? But you was
Nobody in the
that
media protected Allen Iverson more than you, Stephen A.
exactly.
Smith.
So when you think about that, and black athletes would be able to relate to you, much like they did Stuart Scott back in the day. And he said, if this guy that you were back then was to see this guy, you got to ask yourself. And he said, in no uncertain terms, that guy who you were back then, who was down with black athletes, who black athletes look forward to seeing, who black athletes knew that they could look to in order to protect them in the media against a lot of unbiased media. If that guy saw this guy today, he'd probably slap the crap out of that guy. So, and he had an exact point because he was that beacon of hope in the media, much like Stuart Scott was. Stuart Scott was that guy in the media. Then it was Stephen A. Smith. Now it's a clown show every single week because you're beefing with the very people that you are trying to cover. You don't see Adam Schefter out here beefing with Ben Roethlisberger. You don't see Adam Schefter out here beefing with Tom Brady.
And Adam Schefter's had some problems.
I mean, with the Richie Incognito situation, but the thing was that was his job. I'm
Not
reporting
just
on
not
what
not
was brought to
not
what was
not
brought
just
to
the
my
Richie
attention.
Incognito situation, champ. He also had the situation with Dalvin Cook, the reporting of Dalvin Cook and the Deshaun Watson.
Oh,
Go remember that?
oh, I don't
Remember
remember
when
that. Enlighten me.
remember when Deshaun Watson was cleared of the SA charges in court, and remember the statement that he made on Twitter? Just go, when you have the chance, go Google and look at it. And he got a lot of blowback for it.
Okay.
But the thing is, champ, with Stephen A. Smith, you're being something that you don't want to be, Stephen A., because you've attacked Jasmine Crockett. You attacked, and also, too, another thing that we have not mentioned, and I'm so shocked that we've never mentioned it. Remember how he attacked Kyrie Irving years ago when Kyrie refused to take the vaccine? And Jay Williams, of all people, was the one who confronted Stephen A. Because, wait a minute, Stephen A., how can you have such energy with Kyrie not getting the vaccine when he told you he wasn't going to get the vaccine, but you don't have the same energy for Aaron Rodgers, who lied?
Exactly. Not to mention, he didn't really much have. Remember that photo that came out about Jerry Jones, right? And remember the bullshit he said then. I am very fond of Jerry Jones. Okay. What does that have to do with any damn thing? What about the photo? So, I mean, a lot of things that Stephen A has done, it's a spectacle at this point. It's not like I remember when ESPN when they had Roy Firestone, Charlie Steiner, even Jim Rome to a certain extent before, unfortunately, Jim Everett, not Chris Everett, Jim Everett jumped on him on national television.
Yeah,
And
I remember that.
yeah, I was watching it with my father when they had, but when you had those type of journalists, they would go digging, but it wasn't personal attacks. All of that had to do with the game. Even with Craig Seeger, I think Craig Seeger was on The Last Dance when he talked about backstabbing and stuff like that with Jerry Krause. He was referring to what people were saying were going on with the beefs between the front office within the Chicago Bulls and the players. This wasn't a personal attack. All of these personal attacks on players is what's turning these players against the media. And that's why I believe, look, that you could call me wrong, and and if you want to clip this, but I believe a lot of the reasons why a lot of athletes are becoming the media is because they no longer trust the media anymore like they did when it was Ramal
No,
Rashad, Stuart
no,
Scott,
no,
and
that's
guys
true.
like that.
No, that is true, champ.
I
That is
believe they're
absolutely
becoming the
true
media
because a
because they
lot of
don't
times,
trust the media anymore. And I believe that's why a lot of these former players are becoming the media and becoming more prominent in the media because guess what? They don't trust the media anymore. It's not about your stats anymore. It's not about who didn't show up for a game anymore. It's about personal attacks and who's going to generate the most drama. And that is the reason why a lot of these athletes, the minute that they retire, they go to sports media. They go get their podcast. They make sure they're on television in order to try to make sure that the narrative is brought to light as far as athletes are concerned. Because I believe that journalism and sports journalism is dead. It's more of a spectacle now. When Charlie Steiner and guys like that were on ESPN, the sports reporters, and Mitch Rosenbaum and all of those guys
John
were on.
Saunders.
Yes, Al Saunders and Al Michaels and Pat. It was about the game, whether it was basketball, football, or whatever. Now it's a case of, oh yeah, we need drama between athletes and the media. Your job as the media personality is to work with the athletes, not to be attacking them in the media about something they may have said. That's guys like our job in order to do that.
Right. But the thing is, you know what makes it more embarrassing is that people like us, champ, we cover a lot more important things in the world of sports than they do. And I'm sorry. Jason Whitlock with this whole situation, I must show this. Did you see this? Please tell me. I mean, what? How does he find that funny? Why? Because he saw Drewski impersonating Charlie Kirk's widow.
If he wouldn't have said certain terms in that video, it actually would have been funny. It actually would have been funny. I mean, I don't really like Jason Whitlock. I'm not a fan of Jason Whitlock, but for him to have that old ugly ass wig on, looking like the Nutty Professor, that was it was kind of funny. But had he not said certain words that I don't like and I know you don't like, it would have actually have been funny because the best form of flattery is impersonation. So that's the reason why I'm laughing. I'd never give Jason Whitlock a lot of credit, but I actually found that kind of funny. I just don't like the language that he used in regards to certain terms. And I will not say those terms. You know the terms that he said. I don't really like the language that he used. But had he not used those terms and used more analytical terms in his attack in acting like he was smoking that magic dragon,
But
I
this is the
actually would
same
have found it
Jason
funny.
Whitlock who calls himself a Christian, and really, this is God's work.
Oh shit.
BRF.
BIL.
Jason Whitlock looks like a cross between Sherman Klump and Gomez Adams. And thanks for the support, y'all. I'll be back soon. Got to get right. You know what? I'm gonna re-show that again. I love it.
What the fuck? BRF.
I mean, seriously. I mean,
But it
that's how
actually
he
would have
looked.
been funny had he not said a lot of terms. But you know him had that damn that ugly ass high top wig
What do you
fade.
expect with Jason Whitlock? This man has no integrity, champ. Which is why, even though Stephen A. Smith on his worst day, he is still a baby face compared to Jason Whitlock. You've often said your worst fear of all is for anyone to
Yeah,
compare
that
you to
is
Jason
still
Whitlock.
like I said. I will quit the day that I will compare it to him. I'm quitting. Like that day, like no questions asked. Time for me to quit. But I'm just like, it actually would have been funny had he not said a lot of terms because guess what? Him impersonating, act like he was doing what he was doing, with the little wood piece or whatever. But hey, like I said, but that's who you expect that from. You
But you
expect it
expect that from people like
like Jason
Jason
Whitlock. You don't
Whitlock.
expect that from a guy who's making $120 on damn on
ESPN,
ESPN. You didn't
but
see Stuart Scott out there attacking Shaq. You
but
didn't see him out
but
there
that's my point.
attacking
But
Kobe.
that's my point, champ. That here's my point. Here's my BRF with them pipe bombs. I'll tell you that much. I mean, he's bringing some real flair with them pipe bombs. But big fella, here's my thing with Stephen A. Smith. ESPN is not going to hold him accountable. They're not, because ESPN has co-signed for this. You gave Stephen A. Smith all that money, knowing that he brings controversy. Everyone knows what Stephen A. Smith's goal is. He wants to, whether look, I don't see him running for president of the United States of America, and neither of us are going to vote for him.
The president of the student council.
I mean, but the thing is with Stephen A. Smith, again, Michelle Obama. I know I'm tired. I'm tired of being redundant, but when Michelle Obama is saying that ESPN is reality TV, that should tell you all you need to know. And again, she doesn't pay that much attention to sports like we do. And again, I want to make it clear for the record, I am not accusing Michelle Obama of not knowing sports because she's a woman. I wouldn't do that. But I don't often hear sports talks or conversations about sports from Michelle Obama. I don't hear conversations about sports when it comes to from Michelle Obama. I usually hear that from Barack. Or anybody else. But for her of all people to actually say that about ESPN, the state of ESPN, reality TV, that should tell you about the company. That should tell you about Stephen A. Smith. That should tell you about the people. Heck, one of the great anchors that we love so much, Elle Duncan. Why do you think she's in Netflix now?
Well,
You
I
bring it
think,
up all the time with that situation with Kendrick Perkins. We know
yeah,
that
I
for a
think
fact.
that had a lot to do with it. Why take a Tylenol when you could have a perk and then leave?
And look, ESPN nowadays, I just don't watch the sports shows like they are. Like, I'd rather watch 4th and 1. I rather watch Player's Choice, Trent, our podcast, Casual, or anybody else, because they may not be the big name. Nevertheless, still, it's real.
Yeah.
It's not about drama. It's not about soap operas or anything like that. You get to have real, authentic conversations about sports. And then we also go by the reporting. Come on, Dan Orlowski, you falsely claiming that Lamar Jackson did not attend off-season workouts when there's video and proof of it. And then on top of that, you're still claiming that Ty Simpson is a better quarterback than Fernando Mendoza. And again, and I agree with you, Champ. A lot of it has to do with SEC bias, because this is really not a good, exciting quarterback class. Outside of Fernando Mendoza, this is really more wide receiver, defensive end, DBs, other skill positions. And again, it's just narrative, as you always say, narrative. something that people will constantly talk about because nothing else that ESPN or any other major network finds exciting to discuss. And the thing is, with LeBron James, back to LeBron with what he said about Memphis, is it that big of a deal? Is it big of a deal because it's coming from him? Because again, other players have said this about Memphis. So that should tell you that Memphis still has a lot of work to do as far as their finances, as far as growing and improving to become a bigger market. But for Stephen A. Smith, for you to criticize LeBron James for it when you have said exactly the same thing about Memphis. Furthermore, you're a big market person yourself. We see you in LA. We see you in New York. We see you in South Beach. We see you in Vegas. Hell, we see you with the Dallas Cowboys. I am more convinced than ever Stephen A. Smith is a Dallas Cowboys fan because he loves the attention that the Dallas Cowboys brings to ESPN as well as any other network. After all, they're called America's team. We saw you in the press box sitting next to Jerry Jones. But LeBron said what he said about Memphis. Who is the first? He's not the first nor the last person to say that about Memphis. So why is it such a big deal? This is more to do with nothing. It would have been a bigger narrative if Memphis, the Memphis Grizzlies, officially moved to Nashville. That would have been a bigger narrative. But LeBron taking time in a golf course to say, hey, move to Nashville. You got a lot more things to look forward to with the Predators, the hockey team, the Vanderbilt Commodores, everything else. It's a bigger market. And again, champ, look, you are about business. You are about money. I do not want the Chicago Bears to leave. And Chicago is a big market itself to be the Indiana Bears. But you look at it from the state of business with money and everything else. And you look at Memphis, in terms of crime rate, it's the highest up there.
Yeah.
And market, when in terms of a market, in terms of the big city, the big lights, fun things to do, it's not that type of place to be. It's not New York or LA, Chicago, Atlanta, Vegas, Dallas, Houston, or heck, even Phoenix. So to me, it's just blowing it way out of proportion. And look, did I like what Matt Barnes calling Stephen A. bootlicker, stuff like that? No, because I feel like by you saying that, you're giving Stephen A. Smith more of a reason to take a shot. But for Stephen A. Smith to call Matt Barnes a pothead and an influencer, your ego.
Again.
He could have criticized Matt Barnes saying, I disagree, but I'm sorry, Stephen A. Your pattern is well documented because you won't keep the same energy with a lot of other people. Sorry, champ. I know you are very hesitant in using the word, but race applies. Had a white player had said that, do you think Stephen A. Smith would have kept the same energy?
Probably
I'm unsure. I'm definitely unsure. He wouldn't have kept the same energy because, again, Aaron Rodgers, when it came to the vaccine, when he lied, you didn't have that much. You didn't have that much energy compared to Kyrie Irving, who said, "I'm not going to get the vaccine." And for the record, I do not agree with Kyrie not getting the vaccine, but I respected his choice. Told you he wasn't going to get the vaccine. I don't agree with it, but hey, that's his choice. That's his prerogative. I may not like it, but I will respect it from as a man. But Stephen A., the problem is you won't keep the same energy.
Crazy. Stephen A., like I said, man, we got to stop making a spectacle out of sports, man. We're here to cover sports. And you're not going to see me taking personal attacks at anybody because of what they may have said. They have a right to an opinion. And if it's anything outside of basketball, what's on that stat sheet and what's on that box score, anything like that, guess what? It has shit to do with ESPN. ESPN is a sports network. not a reality TV network. And I feel like that slowly but surely, especially with Stephen A being the face of ESPN, ESPN is slowly but surely becoming the Zeus network. It's slowly but surely becoming that.
They're the
And
E
it's a
entertainment
lot
of
of
sports.
drama. I mean, you
They're the
got
E entertainment of sports.
it's just getting disgusting. There was a time where you could sell sports and you didn't have to come up with narratives. Sports always has a narrative within itself. You're always going to have a narrative. Players go on streaks. There's always a narrative there. But when you're always trying to cover and bring a story that's really a non-story, it's kind of crazy. I think Charles Barkley brought that up at the beginning of his career. He said sports journalists are always trying to turn stories into non-story, trying to turn non-stories into stories. Or in other words, how we used to say it, making a mountain out of a molehill. It's sickening when you think about it.
It's damaging because there are a lot of good reporters like Brian Windhorst and others, but it's more about reality TV. And it's a damn shame because rather than paying attention to the sport, rather than paying attention to far more important things, we're paying attention to nonsense. That's the reality.